All right, in this video, I'm going to go over the new and improved satellite tracing capabilities in the new version of Cool Calc. The legacy version, we've been doing satellite tracing now for close to 10 years. We were the first manual J application to introduce that capability. It's worked well. A lot of people like that feature. But one of the things was our old application was built on a third-party library that we utilized, so we had very little control over the experience. So there was a lot of things that we wanted to improve, but we were reliant on that third-party library to introduce those updates. Now we've taken full control. We've redesigned the satellite trace on top of our own drawing platform that not only supports satellite tracing, but these other three options that you see here that I'm covering in other videos. So to get started on the satellite trace, you just want to click that and then zoom in on the home. One of the things we've added is a rotate map feature. So you'll see this tooltip in the top right-hand corner where you can rotate and put the house at a close to 90-degree angle. That helps tremendously when you're going to trace not only walls, but especially if you're going to get into in the future drawing ductwork on top of this design, you're going to want it to be, drawing horizontally 180 degrees and 90 degrees up and down rather than at arbitrary angles. If you do rotate this, the program still remembers what orientation is north and it will set all your exposures accordingly. So when you're happy with the zoom level in your rotation, you just click take snapshot and then use that image. And this now becomes the background image of your project. Similar to the previous version of Cool Calc, we wanted you to trace each level of the home, but we've made it a little bit easier to do that. If you look at the floor plan guide in the bottom right-hand corner of this map, you'll see I'm on the basement level. And then there's a tooltip up top saying to get started, just click the wall icon. When you're tracing, just like before in the previous version of Cool Calc, you always want to trace just inside of the roof line when you're tracing a map trace. And that's because houses have gutters and overhangs. And if you trace right to the edge, you're going to be overstating that floor area. I can zoom in. If you click on a corner of an icon, you can move it. You'll see that, it's a much nicer experience. If you click on the entire wall, you can move that entire wall up and down. So corners just move the corner. Clicking anywhere else in the wall moves that entire wall. If you need to divide a space into multiple spaces, obviously we don't recommend drawing individual rooms on a satellite view. Some of our other drawing options are better for that, whether it be the floor plan upload or the new LiDAR scanning feature we have. If you're doing a map trace, that's typically for virtual selling, quick block load applications. But there are instances where maybe part of a floor is served by one system and part is served by another, and you need to be able to separate them. Or maybe you're looking at proposing multi-zone mini split heads and you want to be able to see the CFM breakdown per space. We do have this new divider tool that allows you to just simply divide a space into multiple sections without really having to draw walls, and those would be reflected separately on your report. You can click and you can name those spaces. You can add internal loads to those spaces. For Windows, we've added some shortcuts here where you can do things like add double glass doors quickly. You can add standard size windows around a house. You can also click on the walls. You can click this plus button to split a wall into two. That's helpful if maybe you have half the wall as one construction feature and half's a different one, and you want to be able to assign one construction feature group to another and split them that way. You can adjust the portion of the walls that are above grade and below grade, just like you always could, but now we've added an apply to all to make it easier so you don't have to click around and go to all of them. When you proceed to the next level, we've added the ability to copy the wall. So before you had to retrace the map, now you can actually copy the walls. If you need to make adjustments, you can do things like, you know, indent this or add a garage room to this first floor. You can click on spaces and make them unconditioned. If I wanted to make that an unconditioned garage, I can name it garage. When it does that, it automatically sets the temperature. It automatically creates partition walls. So you don't have to do that. The only thing you'd have to do is go around and add your doors, exterior doors, and all of your windows. Obviously, you can't see the windows from a top-down satellite view, so that could be something either you're doing on site or looking at street view or talking to a homeowner. Before we automatically added 15% glass area to all the walls, let us know if you'd like us to add back a shortcut feature to do something like that. We got rid of it because we got a lot of negative feedback that it was adding too many windows to the reports, and people were complaining that it was not accurate. But if there's a better way that you'd like to see us implement this, feel free. The other thing you'll notice we've done, speaking of reports, is we've done a much better job at naming everything. If I call this first floor and click save, you'll notice that this window is now like first floor east window, and that's how it'll be reflected on my drawing. If I was doing a room by room and this was called kitchen, this would be called east kitchen window. The previous version would use generic names like default ID window 1234, and that really didn't mean anything to a lot of people. So you'd be looking at the report and have a hard time deciphering, if it's accurate and you were able to capture everything that you need to capture. So now we've taken a much more intuitive naming approach in this version, and then we also have the ability to edit all of the other window attributes if you click on a window or click on a particular wall. Once I'm good with my first floor, I can proceed to trace my second floor and do the same thing, go around, add all of my windows to my second floor. Just real quick. And then proceed. We do have an attic level. If you do specify at the beginning that there is an unconditioned attic space, we just have you define the space. Most of the time, it's just going to be a straight copy, but you'll see why that makes sense later when we go to place units and draw ductwork. We sometimes need that attic level to be able to reference off of that. We automatically detect floor loads. This is where you can click and you'll see that we detected that this was a basement floor because it's on the basement level. And then we detected a floor load over the garage, which we automatically set, and you can choose the one of the other defaults that we created, but we use building codes to determine the right insulation R values for that floor level. Manual J is only concerned with exposed floors and ceilings, so we don't care about the rest of this level 2 that is over the conditioned basement. We only care about this part because that's over nothing, and that basement floor was touching unconditioned space, so we cared about that. Same thing for ceilings. When I proceed to ceilings, we detected the ceiling load on the basement level, and then this ceiling load on the second floor level. we've made it easier. Before you had to click on radio buttons in the top right hand corner to toggle between wall, floor, ceiling mode. Now we kind of advance you through it just to show people what we're doing, that we are automatically detecting exposed floor and ceiling areas based on analyzing the geometry and how each floor stacks up. And then you can add things like skylights graphically now, where before you had to click on a ceiling and do that. You can also change the ceiling pitch from flat to sloped, and then you can change the pitch angle of it, and the program will automatically adjust the surface area of that as well. We've added a layer icon where you can do things like, look at the footprint and dimensions and hide different layers there. If you don't want the background map after you're done tracing, you can hide it, for example. And then when you're done, we're just going to proceed to the next step, which is really just finalizing the manual J. We've added a new zoning feature that I'm going to cover in one of the upcoming videos as well. But that's it for now. Thanks.